Saint-Georges lived among aristocrats and was readily accepted in, shall we say, this rarefied atmosphere because of his celebrity. Women loved him, were intrigued by him because of his exotic looks, and men, because of his erudite conversation, loved to speak with him and his great sense of humor. So everybody rallied around him, and as I said earlier, he was also a wonderful dresser. He went to London and brought back the latest fashions. He went for fencing matches to get money, by the way, because his money was kind of low. So as a result, his friend, son, the Duke of Orleans' son, and he became very good friends, and they did duels in England. And he brought back the latest fashions from England. So when Saint-Georges was in a room, what's he wearing today? What's he wearing today? I mean, this is the thing. He was a superstar, a real superstar. But in 1789, all of this stopped abruptly. Why? Because of the French Revolution. Bread was hard to come by. Bread was very, very hard to come by. There were these exorbitant taxes given to the poor for salt, and as a result, they went to Marie Antoinette and says, what are we going to do? The subjects are starving. They can't afford the bread. Oh, let them eat cake. You all know that famous phrase of hers. Well, you know, under Maximilien Robespierre, this was the era of terror. And anybody who looked like they might be a dissident was killed. All aristocrats were killed, including Marie Antoinette. She was taken to the guillotine, and also her husband. Their heads were chopped off. Oh, that was a humane way of doing away with people. Okay, but all of Saint-Georges, one by one, all of his friends left. They were being killed. So you know what he did? Well, I'm a black man, and oh gosh, I can't use the title Chevalier anymore. So he changed, he took that title away because that was an aristocratic title. So he became known as Monsieur Saint-Georges. Mr. Saint-Georges. Well, because of his renown, he was asked to take part in the French Revolution. And after a time, he became a colonel. What did he know about army strategy? But he became a colonel. Now, I don't know if this is true, but he was the head of 1,000, they use the term colored men. These freed black men signed up for his regiment. And they fought at the Battle of Lille in France, and they preserved that city, Lille. Because of it, he was considered a revolutionary hero for a time. But this was the era of terror. And what happened? He was later accused of taking monies for his own pleasure. You know, even during the war as a colonel, Saint-Georges lived well. He really lived very well. He had a very nice apartment and still dressed the part. And the revolution says you're stealing money that was meant to outfit your soldiers and give them weapons. It was a lie. He didn't do that at all. But nevertheless, that's what they said. So guess what? He was relieved of his command, and he was imprisoned. He was imprisoned. Now, one by one, his aristocratic friends were beheaded. Any day he knew he could be beheaded. The only thing that saved him was, well, he was a colonel working for the resistance, shall we say, the French, the peasants, okay, for democracy would be a better word. He was working for liberty and equality. He was working for these things. So, at the behest of friends, to the authorities, they finally released him after a year's imprisonment. Okay, so he was out for a year, and the government says, Saint-Georges, we need your help again. Saint-Georges was a Frenchman, and he says, what can I do? We want you to go to Saint-Dominique, which is now known as Haiti, and see if you can't talk to their rebel leader, Toussaint Louverture, and see if he will stop his fighting and come back to us. Let us rule, Haiti. Well, he went over there, and he tried to talk to Toussaint Louverture, and he was very sympathetic. What had happened, the slaves had taken over all the plantations, all of them, and they were basically ruling themselves by Louverture. But at the same time, there was a rogue leader who was also trying to take over and was killing many of the natives of this Saint-Dominique, Haiti. Killing them. As a matter of fact, there's an account that St. George gives where he himself narrowly escaped being killed. He was sick of it. He was sick of the fact that there was so much cruelty and violence. He couldn't take it anymore. He said, to heck with this. I'm going back to France. He went back to France, and that basically was the last time that he worked for the French government. He went back to conducting, and he was conducting a new orchestra, and that new orchestra was called Le Cercle de la Harmonie, the Circle of Harmony. The Circle of Harmony. So this was his third orchestra, and he conducted many works and was given great reviews. Now, this was in 1797. He developed an ulcer. He had no money, by the way, because the revolution had taken everything. So he got a one-room apartment and, unfortunately, died in this one-room apartment. He had two friends who came to see about him, but he had an ulcer, and he thought it would go away, and it didn't. And as a result, he died. So here was a life that was full of triumph and at the same time was full of pain. Let's listen to the concluding part of the Adagio in F minor. this piece contains all of the pain, the indignities, the fact that he was a celebrity and could never marry his one true love, Marie-Joseph. Of course, Marie-Joseph was married to somebody else. They actually even had a child, but the husband found out about it and told the wet nurse to let it die. And so he was devastated over that. So all of this music, all of this pain is found in a lot of his slow movements. Saint-Georges was also an operatic composer, and he wrote quite a few operas as well. I'm going to play the second movement of his Sonata Number 1 in C major, and it's very sad, but at the same time, it's very operatic. Let's listen to this.